Had some questions.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is maybe for Richard. I think somebody talked about the enhanced weatherization systems. I wanted to hear more about that, but maybe slide 8, was that what slide 8 was?
We're like, which slide's eight?
I think you mentioned, the first gentleman, was it Benny? Mentioned enhanced weatherized systems. My question really was, what are those? But is it slide 8? Is that what enhanced weatherization systems?
I think, well, I talked about like our substations and transmission systems. They've all been inspected and tested for the winter. And then we also have to certify that to ERCOT. We do, our engineers have done power flow studies on the systems to make sure that we have adequate, the lines can carry the loads and the power for those systems. And then in some areas, we if we had to, we would make circuit different connections.
Are those are all directly in response to the winter storm? That's not something that we had before?
We've always done the studies and worked with ERCOT. I think during the winter storm, it was a little different because it was a power issue. There wasn't enough power to distribute. So we didn't really have system issues on the transmission and distribution other than there wasn't enough power to rotate. So a lot of the focus has been on the enhancement for the load shed, including more load, more people on those systems so that we can rotate the load so we're not having to turn off circuits.
And that is in direct response to
Yes, that's
the
direct
storm
response.
and then, of course, trying to prevent that.
Yes, and then a lot more drills, exercises to make sure we're communicating with all the agencies. We have worked with SAWS to make sure that the critical pump stations are on non-load shed circuits, so we're not shutting those. Those critical pump stations also have dual circuits to them, so if a circuit goes out for any reason, equipment failure, it will flip to the other circuit.
Oh, okay. And that's not something we used to have?
That we had in place, yes.
Things are just,
We're making sure that we're all in sync now.
okay. And sync is a
Yes.
that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Are there any failures from the winter storm that have not yet been addressed, that are within our control, obviously?
No, we've addressed pretty much everything that we identified, and we continue to look for improvements every year.
Okay. I think that's important too, outside of the storm. Hopefully we don't have to deal with something like that again, but even outside of that, you're still looking for kind of those failures here and there,
Yeah.
or system checks, right? To
Yes.
just make sure that it's as operational and as efficient as possible.
Yes, ma'am.
I think you mentioned the winter report came out yesterday, the ERCOT report. Is there a way to get that report or a summary of it, or just to kind of, we can read it? I mean, that was, to me, that's what I understood to be the biggest problem, was the interaction of ERCOT and us, right, all of us. So I think those reports are probably pretty useful to you guys, but I'm wondering if we can get access to them or a summary.
So, Councilwoman, we're going to send our board today, ERCOT and the PEC are having a press conference.
Okay.
And they released their reports yesterday. We're going to send our board an update that includes the links to those two reports along
okay.
with whatever ERCOT says today. And we'll be happy to forward that on to council.
Wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
And then going over to the load shed enhancement, you talked a bit about it, but is it increased capacity? I think you maybe just explained this, but increased capacity is going to prevent future outages in not only the event of a winter storm, but heavy other weather catastrophes. Is that
No, so
true?
the way the load shed works is, like Benny had mentioned earlier, during the winter storm, there wasn't, all utilities got caught because there's never been a load shed event of that magnitude. So the computer programs and everybody's circuits you didn't have enough capacity to rotate. And so the only way you can now rotate load is you got to include more people. And the way you include more people is, we have to revisit all the circuits and make sure that, everybody's participating as much as possible. And even on the long circuits where there's a lot of load, if there's hospitals, I mean, in the past you were lucky that you lived at the end of the circuit and you just lived on the hospital circuit. So now we're using the smart switches that we got funding for to put beyond the critical loads that we can shed that load to. So
Okay,
the more people, the better it is for everybody.
the more people that are,
Participate in the
they're
load
less
shed.
likely to lose power at the end of it, right? If you're increasing this.
For long periods of time.
For long
yes.
periods of time. Okay. And I know, because one of the other criticisms of, it seems like a million years ago now, but I'm
Yeah.
sure y'all remember, people were getting power for 20 seconds or for a
Yeah.
minute or here or there. So that load shed would have an impact on that phenomenon as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And
Okay,
then
thank-
also, we have some new dashboards and everything, so we can
Okay.
see the visibility of what's happening on the system.
Okay. Are those public?
The dashboards, no, they're just computer systems that
Oh,
they
okay.
can see.
When I hear dashboard, I think
Well,
it's
I
like
mean,
something. yeah.
situational awareness.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
All righty. Thank you so much. Thank
Okay.
you, Chair.